that number on the scale, that's like I said, I never ask them any particular weight. What I will do is I'll say, is the storage moving in the right direction? If you're adding storage, do you feel like it's coming into your body? That scale is theirs and theirs alone. If they want to weigh, that's fine with them. But I said, watch if it makes a difference with how you are reacting to your own signals within.
Welcome to Coach Soul, the podcast where we explore therapeutic ways to the best versions of ourselves. I'm your host, Steve Hudgins. I'm a licensed professional counselor dedicated to helping you navigate life's challenges. In each uplifting episode, we'll discuss mental health, relationships, self-care, emotional well-being, and personal growth. Join me and with my co-host, Kenya Evelyn, a therapeutic life coach, where sometimes we'll even welcome special guests to our show that share their experience and expertise. So let's embark on this transformative path together and discover a healthier and happier you. Welcome back to Coach Soul. What a powerful moment that we had last week in the 30 minutes that we spent with Shirley. Again, she's with us again. And Shirley, thank you again for coming back on the show. And one of the things that I got to thinking about the food that we eat, and here we are, in 2026. And I just, when we think about food, we hear, I used to think about the blood food diet. We eat according to our blood type. Is that a myth? Because when I think about the Bible, God says everything is permissible to eat. And so at one point, the Jewish community wasn't allowed to eat. So I know there's some things that are there, but take it from there.
Yeah. I always go with that verse, do not worry what you should eat, because eating and our bodies were meant to give us energy. They weren't meant to drain our energy or remove us from life and take over our life. And I always used to say, if we could get eating back in order and our creative souls could just live life, that's the way it was meant to be. So I'm always looking for that wisdom within the body instead of judgment or rules from the external. And when people are working with me, they really start to feel that wisdom. They really start to feel what foods feel like to them. And what happens in the journey as they're going on, it's more about abundance. It's never about deprivation, because I'm only having them remove the food that doesn't feel good to them. But in addition, there's information as they're removing that food. There is a lot of information that they gather as to why they even had the desire to eat in the first place.
So let's kind of talk a little bit about food, because when you think about the 90s, when you wrote your book, our food has changed dramatically here. And there are some words that I can't even pronounce on some of these ingredients we read. And it's like, I love pickles. So one day I thought, you know what? I want to pick up a jar, and I'm not going to say what brand, but it has polysorbate 80 in it. And I'm like, that destroys your microbiome. It destroys your health gut and your mind as well. Kind of talk about, we say eat. Okay. Is it okay to go eat at a fast food restaurant and be okay? Is that food? Is that substance? What kind of food are we talking about here?
Yeah, it's people always bring that up. What about the processed foods? Because like I said at the beginning, I don't tell people what to eat, but as they start feeling how the food feels like or tastes on the tongue and in their gut, they want to taste a strawberry that tastes like a strawberry. So I sort of work from inside out. I'd like to drive the market that way to real food that really tastes good. That's real food, because the body can't be fooled. The mind can, and if you're stuck just on the taste buds on your tongue, it can be fooled. And it can keep you eating. They're always looking for having those snacks that you can't stop. You can't have just one. Well, the body, but you really are connected to the body. It can't be fooled. So I generally work from inside out, because choice is also key, because that's our identity. Whoever owns the choice owns the power. And I want to empower my clients. So I had to take out the food first that they don't need. Then they start really feeling what the food feels like. And I remember one client, she said, "Oh, I see what you do now, because never did I ever think I would want a salad that was really fresh and green and crisp. I always thought of that as something I should eat, and I really didn't want to." I said, "Yes, because you can't want a should. I take out the shoulds so that you can want a should." And all of a sudden, she realized, she could feel, she said, "I just have desire to eat a great salad that tasted so crisp and good."
Okay, so let's look at it from another way. What do you do with people with celiac disease and things of that nature? They're gluten and intolerant and stuff, and our food has gluten in it and things of that nature. Does that impact the way we eat?
They need to listen to their body even more. So whatever it is they have, whatever health thing, they need to listen to their body. Now, what's interesting, as I'm unpacking, because there are beliefs in the gut brain that are non-value based beliefs that are interfering, that are causing some of the pain within the body, and I'm constantly working on unpacking that. I had a woman that I worked with that thought she was lactose intolerant. Well, as we work through some issues with her, now she can eat ice cream, because those non-value based beliefs in the gut brain create discomfort, and then the food lands on top of that, and there's a reaction, but the food always gets the problem. And I never really know, as I start working with someone, if it's the actual food or if it's the non-value based beliefs that are causing the problem. I never know. So I go work with wherever that person is. If they feel they're allergic to gluten, if they feel they're allergic to whatever it is, I start at that point and I start working.
It's interesting when you say listen to our body, and I want to kind of give our audience a way to understand, what do we mean by listen? Does that mean we put our ears and we hear our stomach grumble and that's we're hungry, we need to put some food into it? That's not the kind of listen we're talking about here. And when you say listen, oftentimes I can tell when I go to I love burgers, but there's the different types of bread, and there's several restaurants I stay away from because of how I feel after I eat the bread. That's the kind of listening you're talking about. You want to explain a little bit more?
Yes, no, you described that beautifully, because it's not only the quantity of food that you're listening, like when I described the hunger scale. And guess what? You knew it like that, what that feel was. So you are connected. And we all know, we just stopped paying attention. And like you said in the other podcast, you said, "Oh, I really hadn't paid attention to that." When I said, "Do you always eat from a 2 to a 5?" And so it's the awareness that I start creating. So it's not just the quantity. Once we get the quantity kind of cleared out, then it's the quality. What does that food feel like to you? And like you said, you stay away from certain breads because how it makes you feel. And that's key, because once the quantities are down, now we really can see, is it the actual food, or is it a non-value based belief that is interfering with that really good feel inside your gut brain?
I want to flush that out a little bit more, because I think it's important to really hone in on these key words that you're sharing. What do you mean by belief thought?
Okay, so think about growing up. Sometimes they're with the food, sometimes it's about life, sometimes it's about energy. I kind of like 3 little pockets in my gut that I'm working with people, and I keep shifting according to what's going on. But a non-value based food belief would be, you have to finish your food before you leave the table. That's a non-value based belief. It's not a respectful belief to your body. It's not a respectful belief. So that's what I call, it's something that's not based in truth and reality in your belief system. And so that's a food non-value based belief. An energy non-value based belief is, even if I'm exhausted, I will not stop moving until I finish this project. That's a non-value based belief that goes against your physical energy. Now, I work with that because there are times that you're going to be tired and a project needs to be done. But it's acknowledging that tiredness instead of using food to cover it up. You have to acknowledge that, okay, generally I will respect the energy in my body, and if I get tired, I will rest. But if you have a belief in there that says I can never rest unless I get a project, that's a non-value based belief according to your energy. So that's a non-value based belief that we're constantly, because people say, what drives me? And the thing is, and then in life is, I can't really choose what I want to do because somebody else said I can't. And if that choice is honoring yourself, you're blocked. You can't get to where you need to get to. So those are non-value based beliefs that, if you don't understand that they exist, they are driving your bus. And if it doesn't match how you believe, then you'll have this desire to eat thought because it's uncomfortable. And unless you really use your own thoughts and actions to comfort that thought, the body will say, that's wrong. I'm taking you away from that. You want to run from that feeling. And you go to the detour, and the food says, no, you got to get back to yourself and feel pleasant and calm before you can move. That's what I call the detour to eating. Once those feelings of discomfort hit that are generally non-value based beliefs. So you go on a detour. So I gradually get people off the detour so that that communication center between gut and head can keep moving.
So I want to kind of flush something out, because I hear what you're saying. And research shows that when we're around somebody that we love, or community or social, and that other person's eating, there's that tensionality to want to eat with them at the same time. And so what does that say about our nervous system, that people eat more when they feel connected rather than controlled?
It's about, okay, are you saying they're more connected to the people than they want to be connected so that they're eating with them?
Correct.
Am I hearing that correctly? Okay.
Yes.
It's you can be connected and still respect yourself and honor yourself while you're with that person, because we are not just eating with that person, we're communicating, we're spending time. And so we want to be able to walk away feeling good in our own bodies while we've been with that person. And every time you bring up a situation, I think of another client that she has a lot of evening dinners in the job that she holds, and she would always go to these dinners and feel like she needed to eat. And now she's starting to get that feeling of respecting her body. And so now she just slows down, eats a little bit. If somebody mentions something about, oh, you're not eating enough, and she says, yeah, well, I'm just not that hungry right now. I'm enjoying the food. I'm enjoying the company. And so now she looks forward to the dinners, because she knows now that it's about respecting and staying connected to your own wisdom while you're connecting. And then you feel even better being with the person because you're not crowded. And then you don't walk away being upset with yourself. You walk away knowing, oh, I respect myself and I had a great time with this person. It's really honoring both.
You know, when you think about that, I'm going to go the opposite now. When you think about work, I mean, you have 3 or 4 different shifts that people go into. And oftentimes that midnight shift is totally different, and their eating habits or whatnot are kind of different. Does that even impact how we believe in what we eat? Or is that, where do we go with people who just have different eating patterns and it bothers them as well? Because research shows that the later the shift you have, the more that you're going to eat. So,
it depends on how you feel. I go back to, because everybody's going to have different eating patterns. It's like when I'm working with people, eventually they kind of land on a structure that feels good to them. Sometimes it's twice a day. Sometimes it's morning and mid-afternoon. Sometimes it's afternoon and a little bit in the evening. Sometimes it's 10 snacks during the day. They end up finding, as they listen to their own wisdom, a structure that works well for them within the structure of their life, of their work. For example, the woman that I was just talking to you about, when she had these evening meals, she liked a structure better that was she'd eat in the morning and then maybe mid-afternoon. So she had to adjust that structure when she had dinners. So you adjust it according to your life. You've got to work with your life. You got to work with the reality, the truth and reality of your life, your work schedule. And you said something about if they're night shift, they tend to
Eat more.
eat more. It depends on if they're getting enough rest when they're not working, when they have the night shift. So if they're not feeling rested going into the night shift, and they are starting to eat because of false energy, that's where you'll get it. That's why they sometimes say, if you get enough rest, you'll lose weight. And people go, why would sleeping more allow you to lose weight? Because you're not using food for false energy.
Talk about that a little bit more. False energy? It's almost like that 3D meat they're trying to print and get us to eat and things like that. I just don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. Well, when you are tired and then all of a sudden you have the desire to eat, but if you track it back, are you really hungry or are you tired? And tired makes you feels good again. It feels like you kind of got a boost. But it's really what your body really needs is rest.
Okay. Let's talk about, and now I'm going to be a party pooper on this question, but what do we do with coffee when we think about, I got to have that caffeine for energy in the morning? Is that really a good food substance to go with? Talk a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, coffee, there's so many different things. Sometimes coffee's good, sometimes coffee's bad. Depends on how your body responds to the caffeine. How do you feel? How do you feel after 1 cup? How do you feel after 2 cups? Does it interrupt your sleep in the evening? Can you have coffee in the evening? It varies. Every single person is different. That's why to put a rule on something, say you can't have coffee, you can't have coffee, depends on how you feel.
Okay. So what do you do now? We have contradictory things that come out about what foods we should or shouldn't eat. I mean, I enjoy bacon, but I eat in moderation. I got to have real butter, not something that's one molecule away from plastic. Yeah. Eggs, it doesn't matter whether it's hen raised or grocery fed type chickens, eggs and things of that nature. So what do you say about the research and the data that's so mixed out there that confuses a lot of people, because we want to do right for our body, but do we go with less bacon, more bacon? I mean, we got to have bacon cupcakes. Come on.
I love bacon. No, I hear all those different rules, and that's why we've lost our confidence. Because if you're depending on external rules to guide you, you're going to be so confused that you just go, I just give up. Just tell me what to eat. And that's why, they'll do diet programs. You only have to work with the food. They'll just send it to you. I thought, no, we got to wake up our taste buds. We got to wake up the wisdom of our own body. It will let us know what really feels right to us. That's the only wisdom. It really is. You can read the research. You can say, okay, let me try this. Let's see how I feel. But like you said, you try the restaurant, the bread. Okay, it depends on how I feel. Bottom line, you can read the research. It doesn't mean that you don't learn and do and grow and understand things. It just means, bottom line, it comes down to how you feel.
So I get how we feel. And sometimes it's like, okay, we want that pizza, but we know those calories and carbs and all that's going to increase our sugar spikes and things of that nature. So we're halfway through. One of the things that I'm thinking about is those who are diabetic. What ways can we listen to food so it's not spiking the sugar or causing anything like that? Go ahead.
They need to listen even more. That's why anytime it's diabetic or, glucose intolerant or lactose intolerant or gluten-free, you got to listen even more, because your body there is responding to something. Those messages are probably even stronger for those people. So it all comes back to this. It all comes back to and we always hear about the wisdom of the body, but people aren't honoring that. They're not respecting that. You can study like I said, it's great to study all that stuff. It's great to understand all that stuff. But I teach people how to get back to their own wisdom so they can actually feel. But unless you get back to the boundaries of hunger and choice, those messages are blocked. So you got to reignite them, reopen them, get rid of the judgment. There's so much judgment, and people will hear those thoughts of the judgment. I really shouldn't be eating this. I shouldn't be eating this. I better not eat this. I better not eat this. I can't eat this. all that judgment, I just say, when I used to do seminars, I said, just put all the judgment on the ground. Let's leave it out there as we go to lunch. All judgment, just taste.
Okay, hormones. We get into, some women that I've had get into menopause, and then men who lose testosterone or whatever. We start gaining this natural body weight because of the aging. What's the science behind that if we're saying it's okay to eat?
Yeah, I obviously have gone through menopause years ago. Didn't change my weight at all. It's you still. I keep coming back to that. It's like I'll end up being like a broken record. When you go through change, it forces you to listen even more. And if there's things you haven't dealt with, it could magnify, and that desire to eat could be stronger, but it has nothing to do with hunger. And unless you're really, really hungry. But I worked with people that thought that they'd always go through these cycles. Like even if they still had their period, they'd gain the weight and lose the weight. As we worked through the non-value-based beliefs, it evened out.
Okay, here's another one. What do we do? Those who watch the scale every day.
That number on the scale, that's like I said, I never ask them any particular weight. What I will do is I'll say, is the storage moving in the right direction? If you're adding storage, do you feel like it's coming into your body? That scale is theirs and theirs alone. If they want to weigh, that's fine with them. But I said, watch if it makes a difference with how you are reacting to your own signals within, because this is what happens. And some people just say, I've got to get off the scale. It's driving me nuts, because they'll get on the scale and the pounds will be up and they think, oh, screw it, I'm just going to eat. Or the pounds will be down and go, oh, good, I get to eat. And any of that knowledge is interfering with your wisdom. Now, if you're using it as a guidepost as to how well you're listening, but I would even stay away from a few days, just keep clear for a few days, because it kind of varies a little bit. But I'll have people that come in and they know that they're 131.2, and then the next day they're 131.1. I mean, just because of the digital scale. So it depends on how they react. I will never ask them their number, because that's not what the process is all about. And I'm looking for that storage to dissipate. I don't know what number they'll end up, and they probably don't either yet. They just know if their body feels good, and eventually they have such trust in their own decisions that they don't want the scale anymore.
So when you think about the wisdom and tapping into our body's knowledge and things, our body gives us signs, magnesium deficiency when your eye muscles start to twitch or things like that because of lack of magnesium. I notice sometimes that if I go into a place that has loud music, I can't stay because I know that my magnesium level is low, because magnesium affects the nerves. Mm-hmm. That's the type of listening and wisdom that you're talking about. Yes. Is paying attention to that. So when it comes down to deficiencies, because when you get into bioengineered type food, we're starting to lose some of these nutrition, minerals and vitamins and things like that these healthier fruits. So you say go back to our roots. Mm-hmm. What ways do we know, what food do we need to put in our body that we can work with our wisdom?
Yeah, that's why I really start with the quantities, removing it. So that crowdedness, because that crowdedness interferes with how our body feels, because now all you feel is the crowdedness of the food. You're not feeling how that food really felt to you. That's why getting down to that kind of like that 2 to 5, where you can really feel what your body is sending the message. Because if you're crowded up at an 8, there's no messages can get through. They're not getting through. And so I start first with the quantities, and then they start becoming very particular what they're eating, because they really want to be satisfied. It's like people will say, oh, now I understand why the French can eat why those restaurants, they have so little. I used to think I didn't get my money's worth. Now I go, okay, I see why the French didn't get it, because they knew they were always going to eat again at another meal, and they would never overeat. That's why the French woman could eat whatever they want, stayed thin.
To me, that's, if I was a restaurant owner, that's the best way to get more money, is feed less and they'll keep coming back for more.
Yeah. cook really, really great food. I went out to one of clients of mine. She wanted me to go out with her father. She said, "My father eats like you," and she said, "You've got to meet him." So we went out to lunch, and it was fascinating because he had ordered like a cup of soup and then I don't know, a half sandwich, whatever it was he ordered, and they when they delivered it, it was a bowl of soup. And he said, "No, I ordered the cup." And she said, "Oh, no, that's right." She said, "You won't have to pay for that." He said, "That's not the point. It doesn't look appetizing to me."
Oh,
He didn't
wow.
like that look of that quantity. He didn't like that
Right.
look.
And we think quantity is a bigger buck.
Yeah.
There's certain, Mexican restaurants I like. Some will serve queso and the guacamole and cheese and all this type of stuff that's happening. And then some are very little. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I like them more. And that's that training that we have to work through, is that more doesn't mean it's better. It can be more harmful. I know we're getting out of that time, and certain foods we need to listen to because they do cause histamine reactions, whether we realize it or not. And it's paying attention to that. Shirley, it's been a pleasure for you having us on the show. Tell us, the viewers and such, what ways can they contact you, or if they want to have a consultation? Do you mind sharing that information?
No, I'd love to. They can connect with me through my website, Energetics, and I always have to spell that because they hear energetics, but they still think E. It's Energetics, INNERGETICS. It's energy from within. So they can contact me on my website. They can actually download my book for free. So it was published way back in 91, and I would never change a word in there. I just have added a lot more detailed tools to guide the person because I didn't realize how many tools I would need through the years. So that's all that's different. But the book, and it's free. They can download it for free. If they want to know more about my process, they can sign up for a free half-an-hour consultation. And you can tell I love talking about it. So if they have more questions, they can certainly sign up for a free half-an-hour consultation. And then if they decide to work with me, I have an online course. And I'm on Instagram. I just realized I'm on Instagram, and I'm not a social media. I didn't grow up with that, but I have a wonderful woman who is posting because I'm always afraid I'm going to click the wrong thing. So she posts my things, and she does a great job with that. So it's Energetics Method that's on Instagram, and I also have a Facebook, which is learn.energetics. But they can always get a hold of me.
It's been a great pleasure and some great myth busting going on here. And so I really greatly appreciate this information and taking the time, Shirley, to be on our show. Again, thank you so much for being here. So until next time, take care and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on Coach Soul. As we wrap up, we want to remind our listeners of a few key points. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not substitute professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The content shared here is based on professional opinion but may not apply to everyone's situation. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your mental health care. If you're in a crisis, please seek immediate professional help or contact a crisis hotline. Listening to this podcast does not create a therapist-client relationship. For personal advice, please consult with your licensed mental health professional in your area. Remember, your mental health journey is unique. While we hope this information is helpful, it is crucial to work directly with the qualified personnel for your specific needs. Thank you again for tuning in to Coach Soul, and we'll see you next time.